JJ, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to watching shows?
My guilty pleasure. Geez, my wife watches a lot of shows that I wouldn't necessarily watch on my own. So, I've watched The Voice pretty frequently. I've watched Grey's Anatomy. I actually watched an entire season of Grey's Anatomy one time during the off season, but I'm not necessarily a fan of those shows. It's you know what, we have a toddler at home, so it's hard. It's hard to find the time and energy right now to really get into shows.
But it is kind of sad that you were blaming your wife that somehow you're watching these shows, because we all do the same thing. And it's like, I was watching Devil Wears Prada because my wife wanted to.
Right.
That's not the way it works.
Well, it's on the television.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Maybe my eyes catch a scene. I'm hooked. I was surprised at how good Grey's Anatomy was. Grey's Anatomy is a solid show.
I haven't watched an episode of it.
I came in at season 7. It was a ridiculous season. It wasn't anywhere where, my wife's catching me up on the thing the whole season. So,
I was 10 years removed from The Wire. The Wire was off the air, and I started. Did you watch The Wire?
No, it's been on my to-do list for about 2 years now, and I haven't gotten to it. I know.
Just go first season. That's it, and you can thank me later. First season, you're going to go, oh my God, it's this crazy. Right. Yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk to you about was just your viewing pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for waking me up. I'm going to go back to bed now.
What do you do on a day off?
I usually get a lift in. I'm a big reader, so I read a lot, and I've actually, I'm not doing television shows right now, but I'm trying to catch up on movies that I've already seen and kind of rewatching them, classic movies. So I'm in the process. It's a very long movie, so I'm rewatching There Will Be Blood, the Daniel Day-Lewis movie about the oil baron.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
That's kind of what I'm going to finish up today.
How long did the new tat take? How many hours?
The sleeve took 18 total hours. It was 4 different sessions. It was a 5.5-hour session, a 6.5-hour session, and then 2 roughly 3-hour sessions to finish up.
You remember your first one?
I do.
What was
I regret getting it because it's we're back in 2005 when I got it. Those the Chinese and Japanese words were really in. Everybody was getting those.
Yeah.
So I got what I believe to be the word for courage on my chest. I had a couple Duke students tell me that's not exactly what you got, but the internet translation thing can be a little off. But I was 19 or something, or 20. I can't remember. It was after my sophomore year.
I think in
Chinese, I actually got it with my grandmother, who was 80 at the time. She got a butterfly on her shoulder. She took it like a champ.
I think the translation is not courage. It means I never pass. I think that's what
right. It definitely probably isn't courage. So I don't know. I have to live with it. That's one of the things about tattoos, tattoos aren't for everybody, and whatever. I'm not going to get into the social implications of someone wearing a tattoo, but from a personal standpoint, tattoos are kind of a metaphor for life, because we all make mistakes. We have to live with those mistakes. And tattoos, sometimes I look at some tattoos that I have, and I'm like, I've got to live with that for the rest of my life. It's just acceptance.
What did your wife say when you were going to go sleeve? Was she fine?
Oh, she was all for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was all for it.
Okay.
She was all for it. I cleared that with her well ahead of time. So I got these 2 forearm tattoos, just scripts, written words back during the lockout. It was literally out of sheer boredom. And and I said to her then, I was like, listen, Chelsea, I really, really don't like the one on my left wrist. The meaning of it is fine, but it's just the placement of it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to sleeve up. And she's like, oh, go for it. I love it. Great idea. So she's been gung ho about it for
Cool.
the last 4 years. I just was kind of waiting to find the artist that I wanted to do it.
He's J.J. Redick of the Clippers joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Among the players with at least 100 three-pointers taken, J.J. one of 4 players in the league with a better three-point percentage than a two-point field goal percentage this season. Were you aware of that?
I didn't know the depth of that statistic. I was aware that I'm shooting better from three than two.
Why?
And I'm pissed about it, to be honest with you. I've shot a really high percentage from two the last 3 years, 3 years or so, and it's just a little. It's a little down. I've been one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA the last few years, and it's just and I'm still decent, but it's just not where I want it to be. It's been kind of frustrating, but I did go 5 for 8 on twos last night, so
nice.
I feel good about that.
Is the 3-2 easy?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not too easy. It's funny how the three has evolved, and I think a lot of the three's evolution is the emphasis on analytics and all that, and but also just like guys practice threes differently. When I first came in the league, you would practice threes like I'm going to sit in the corner and I'm going to get a swing pass and I'm going to shoot it standing still. And now you've got guys like Clay and Steph and Kyle Korver, myself. Most of our threes are on the move. Steph's are off of three behind the back dribbles into a step back from 30 feet. I mean, and he practices those. And so it's not easy. I think guys are, I don't want to say they're becoming better shooters, but they're certainly practicing the three in a different way than maybe guys did certainly 30 years ago, but definitely 10 or 15 years ago.
I wanted to have you on for a variety of reasons, but I also saw where you had a comment about Duke and Grayson Allen that caught my interest. If you'll allow me, I wanted to read the quote here and then let you
Go ahead.
follow up. I think it's fine for an opposing fan base to choose a player to root against, or maybe you dislike certain guys. My issue, though, is I think the media has perpetuated this white Duke villain myth as much as anyone. Grayson is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. John Shire, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Never seen John Shire do anything dirty. Greg Paulus, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And you know me, too. I probably, in a way, brought on some of the animosity towards me with the antics, the smiling, the head bobbing, trash talking. But to be honest with you, it was more in reaction to the hate that was already coming my way before I ever really did anything to warrant it. What made you? It felt like you had this there for a while. Had been building up in there.
Not necessarily. It's something that I get asked about a lot, and there was an article written about Grayson recently from a national publication, and I participated in the interview, and so that's kind of where this came from. And Dana O'Neill wrote the article, and the article was very fair. It wasn't like anti-Duke or Grayson bashing or anything. And my response and kind of what I said on my podcast was not directly related towards her. Her story was more anecdotal by nature. And what I was saying, it's really more like 15 or 20 years of college basketball fans being essentially spoon-fed a narrative. And I don't necessarily agree with kind of the timing of everything. Before I got to Duke, there was articles written, "Oh, you're going to hate J.J. Redick." My senior year, as the fall semester, there were articles being written about our team. You're going to hate Greg Paulus. He's the next hated player. And then it was John Shire. And last year, as a freshman, Grayson didn't even play a lot. And I can remember reading stuff. Well, Grayson's going to be the next guy. Wait till next year. You're going to hate Grayson. And these are like smart, intelligent people writing these things. And I guess my issue is there's always been this kind of anti-Duke thing as long as I can remember. Going back to when I was a Duke fan, starting in 1992, and I think the reason I say it perpetuates is because the player receives this hate, receives this animosity, let's say, on the road as a freshman. For me, it was my first road game at Clemson as a freshman. And your response as a player is to either go cower in the corner or to fight. It's fight or flight. And for some guys, that fight instinct can manifest in antics. Let's call them antics. For me, it was trash talking, head bobbing, smiling, grinning, whatever you want to call it. And then people jumped on me more, which caused me to, I guess, be an asshole more, and essentially the cycle perpetuates itself.
Is this the tail wagging the dog, though, that they hate you first and then you react to their vitriol?
Yeah, I think a little bit.
And you have to be good enough to be hated. Like there is a backhanded compliment in here, though, JJ.
No question. And I'm not complaining about. It's not a complaint necessarily. The reason I said anything to begin with, it was really to start a conversation and just give some perspective. And that's one of the things that I've tried to do on my podcast is kind of give a unique perspective, talk about things that maybe players don't talk about with the media. It's because I'm an active player, I can talk to another player and kind of ask questions that him not to get offended by it because he knows where I'm coming from. So that's one of the things I've tried to do on my podcast. So it's really just about kind of starting a conversation. The anti-Duke rhetoric exists, whatever. It's fine. I think that it's partly because of our success that we've had and Coach K's success that he's had over the past 30 years or so.
Watch the first season of The Wire and then get back to me. All right, I promise. I promise you, you'll thank me when you watch those first couple episodes. You're going to go, "Oh my God, am I watching a documentary?" It's so well done. You get the feeling that you're watching something you're not supposed to be watching.
My good friend of mine, who I trust dearly with TV show recommendations, has been telling me for like 6 years that I need to watch The Wire, and it's the best show on television. So I'm going to take his word for it, and I will take your word for it. I will watch season 1 for sure.
It might change the rest of the season for you.
Okay.
In a good way.
All right, I hope so.
Steph Curry watches The Wire, by the way. Klay Thompson watches The Wire, by the way.
Draymond Green watches The Wire.
Steve Kerr never missed an episode. Luke Walton loves The Wire.
All right, I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
All right. Hey, good to catch up with you. Thank you, JJ.
All right.
Go back to bed.
Thanks,
all right. That's JJ Redick.